Hey you guys, I'm Jodi Carlton. If you don't know me, I am a neurodiversity expert and relationship coach, and I've got a really awesome treat for you guys today. So I was able to sit down and have a chat with Michelle and Andrew, who have absolutely gone viral on TikTok, and they are a neurodiverse couple who they share their life with everybody and their strategies and tools, and they're just awesome. And so anyway, I am about to stream to you my chat with them, and I'm sitting back and kicking back in my recliner. I got my coffee right here. I'll be here in the comments, so if you have any questions, just post them there. And anyway, enjoy this. But I just wanted to say I'm so excited that you guys have decided to join me and talk to me today. When I saw you on TikTok, I've been following you on TikTok for a little while now, and I just love your videos. I think they're so amazing to help. You're so relatable to couples who are, and from where I sit, you know, I have been working with teenagers, young adults, folks on the spectrum now for over 15 years. And then more recently, in the last 3 years or so, started working with adults who are in neurodiverse relationships. And so from where I sit, you know, I work with people who are trying to make dating relationships work. They're in long-term partnerships, all the way up to, I have a lot of folks come to me in their 60s and even 70s in their retirement years, and they're just now realizing that this is what's been going on the whole time. and they're now sitting at home in retirement, you know, trying to live together and like, so everything you guys talk about in your videos is so relatable to so many people. And I'm so thrilled that you guys are out there.
Awesome.
So
Thank you.
Tell us a little bit about yourselves.
So I'm from Calgary, Alberta, Canada, and I'm 37 years old. And I worked in the public school system for 15 years, working with teens with various learning disabilities. And not many of them were on the spectrum at all, because I worked in cosmetology. So cosmetology is obviously a social, hair, makeup, and nails, and those students weren't attracted to my option. But over the years, I just started observing different students for different patterns and realizing that how I word something can really affect how they respond to me. So before I met Andrew, I definitely had some experience in just learning kind of how to piece little pieces of puzzles together when people don't understand things. I started figuring out little things I could do.
I noticed that she was above in that department.
Yeah.
And say that again, a little louder.
Oh, I noticed that she was above average in that department.
Oh, okay.
So
Just with communicating, and I try and learn people and notice patterns in people, as opposed to trying to have them fit the mold I want them to. And it really helped me in the school system over the years get through to many students, because you can't teach them all the same way. You can't talk to them all the same way, regardless of if they're on the spectrum or not. Right. Different people respond differently. So me and Andrew were friends for a year. And I didn't notice too much because we were just casual friends. And when we started dating, it didn't take long. Oh, Faith is pooping right now.
that's good.
We're having a whole family experience here.
That's okay. Yeah. That's okay.
Yeah. She seems fine.
It didn't take long after we entered a romantic relationship for me to start noticing things about Andrew that just didn't make sense to me. So after I approached him about maybe being on the spectrum, he was really open to it, and we got to explore the process together, which was amazing.
Yeah.
And how long have you guys been together?
3.5 years.
3.5 years. Okay. So Andrew, that was something I wanted to hear more about as well. What was that like for you? Had you already had any thoughts or any suspicions of possibly being on the spectrum, or was this kind of new to you?
Like, yeah, more new. I hadn't really ever thought about that. Like, it's funny. Last week I just finished like writing like a few chapters on my childhood and my like adulthood. So I'm just gonna like reference the book that we're writing. It's very clear. Like when I was growing up, I was in some like special needs classes for math, for English, but I wasn't really I was diagnosed with ADD, and so up until I was about 23, like I thought I had ADD and I had below average intelligence. And like the school system, like when I would logically think about this stuff, right? Like, oh, I'm not an academic, I'm not an intellectual. I don't think I would use those words. Just like I'm dumb. But I could feel it, like me relative to other students. It was very different. And yeah, I had trouble like understanding what's going on. I've always struggled with like, so what do you guys think is going on here? Like what's going on here? And yeah, so I always knew that there were some big disconnects, and I didn't really know how to properly like attribute those things. And then what I did was just piece it together with, well, I guess I have ADD and I just don't get it, and I struggle with this, and I seem to have anxiety. I didn't really know what anxiety was until I was 27. Like I knew the word like intellectually, but so many things in life you can learn about intellectually, and then it happens to you, and then you're like, oh, I know what that means.
Yeah.
Right? Like I know. And so like those are so hard to, to be able to help yourself, to be able to understand yourself when you haven't really learned these things yet. But then, sorry, that's kind of a long diatribe, but so Michelle and I both read a similar book, and then that's the book that got Michelle started. And read the whole book, and I underlined everything that I thought was interesting, might be applicable to me. And the one chapter about autistic echoes, I read it, I'm like, oh yeah, cool. And then Michelle read it, and she's like, oh yeah.
Should we show the book maybe?
Yeah, sure. What book was it?
It's just there. It's called Shadow Syndromes, the Milder Forms of Major Mental Disorders. It's underneath on the brown on the shelf, Andrew. Underneath, look lower. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, it's right there.
All right.
It's an older book, so a lot of the terms are dated. It's from 1997.
Yeah.
But it covers all the milder forms.
Okay. I'm glad you're sharing that. That's not one that I'm familiar with, but that's a good point, that so many of these syndromes, disorders, some people don't like those terms, but so many people who meet criteria for autism have the ones that have a very mild not case, but have more they're able to function in the world fairly well, do just what I would call fly under the radar. In other words, it's not caught, it's not noticed. And it's interesting because the issue that a lot of people have with the term mild or even high functioning autism is that it still creates significant challenges and significant differences. And so a lot of folks are like, it doesn't feel mild to me, but relatively speaking, that spectrum is very, very, very wide. And, we've got people ranging from you, Andrew, down to individuals who are nonverbal and have to be cared for, So I'm glad you shared the book, because that was your gateway into this. And everybody has something, everybody has something, either somebody, a person, a book, a blog, a video, something that helps them realize, okay, wait a minute, this is relatable to me. I understand it. I also wanted to circle back to what you were saying about ADHD and anxiety. And that's something that I see as the first diagnoses that a lot of my clients got. Oftentimes was ADHD or sometimes OCD, which is a form of an anxiety disorder, or anxiety in some sort. And a lot of times, though, you can have actual ADHD and still be on the autism spectrum, but a lot of times the anxiety and the ADHD all falls under the autism challenges, because anxiety itself is about anxiety is an overactive fight or flight mechanism. And so the fight or flight mechanism, that's built in. It's something that we have to stay safe. But when your sensory system is overwhelmed and overloaded all the time, your body stays in fight or flight a lot more. And so anxiety is the result. So yeah, I just wanted to just tell you that in my experience, I see actually people come into me with a whole list of diagnoses that they've gotten, everything from ADHD to bipolar. Sometimes there are, trauma, PTSD, and the bipolar, depression, all sorts of things, before finally realizing, wait a minute, autism is kind of at the root of all of this.
Yeah.
So let's, when you did start realizing, hold on, this sounds familiar, what was that like for you, Andrew, when you hadn't known, but now this is a new framework? What was that like? Well,
you could say hadn't known, but ever since I was 5, I guess what I'm trying to say is I'm kind of used to how do you say it? Like just in pursuit of something. Like there's something here. I don't know what it is, but there's something here. And so at first, when we went over the book and talked about it, it was more like, yeah, that's a really good lead. Or like we'll see where that goes. And then Michelle took the ball and ran with it, and
I needed to know.
Yeah. She's a huge reason. Like I've done what I did what I could in 2008. I went to see a psychologist because my powerlifting coach was like, hey, you get a little edgy. Maybe you should go and just see someone. And I trusted him, and I took no offense to that. He was so I went and talked to a psychologist when I was 28, because I'm open to these things. And then she's like, you don't have ADD, and you're actually above average intelligence. I'm like, oh, that's huge. But she didn't bring up autism or anything like that. Mm-hmm. So, but I've always noticed something's off, something's going on. So yeah, at first to learn it was really neat. But then even to learn it still, because it is such a spectrum, and not even in a 2-dimensional sense, it's ridiculously a spectrum. It really helps to shape the directions that you can learn about yourself, which is fantastic. So yeah, it is really good. But it's an interesting phenomenon, because you can learn it and then you could be diagnosed with it, but now it's all that's happened is that society, or the best that our society culture can come up with, is okay, this ball, this is your ball, and you're okay, so what do I do with it? It's well, here's a bunch of literature and these are help groups, but you still have to dribble it out. So
I love that analogy. Yeah.
So there's still a lot. It's rather than you being so lost, so is it a ball? Is it a rope? What do I do? Where's the thing? It's no, it's right here. It's this, but you still have to take it and continue your life. But now you have what you need.
Now you have this ball. So, I love you guys. I'm an analogy queen, and maybe people laugh at me. And I love sports analogies. No.
Metaphors are metaphors two wells that feel light years apart. It's bang, they're right there, and you can just synergize them.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. And I love sports analogies. And the ball, that's perfect. That's I will give you cred for that, but I'm going to use it. I promise I'll give you cred. But it's great. That's so perfect. The word that I use a lot is framework, but I love the way you're making that into a visual image of now I have this ball. You think in images, I'm sure you think in pictures.
Yeah. Exactly.
That's such a great analogy. So, you're saying I've always been aware that there's this something, and I didn't know quite what it was. Like you said, is it a ball? Is it a square? What is it?
Yeah. Something. Yeah, exactly.
Something. And so then you got this framework of, oh, it's a ball. This is autism. That's what this is. But you're right. Just knowing it, I have so many partners. Michelle, you were saying I needed to know. I have so many partners that are like, I want him to get assessed, or I want her to get assessed, depending on, if it's a man or a woman. And so many partners mistake that assessment as that's the end. If we could just get assessed and then we'd know. And yet,
no. It's
still
just
have
knowing
to
which
dribble.
start line you start from.
It's exactly right. That's exactly right. And so
you're over here, you're way over here. Now you start, and you're going to do really good.
And it's a big start. It's a big start. It is really, really helpful to know that I have a ball. It's a ball. That's helpful to know. But then what do you do with it? And that's a lot of what I do is coach people on then, okay, now what? Here's what we do. And I love how you guys have taken your journey and you say, that we're still learning, we're discovering, but we want to share with you on your YouTube and your TikTok channels. We want to share with you, what we figured out. I love how you're sharing that with the world so that other people can see what that's like, that as you guys are dribbling, you guys are learning and you're growing as you go.
Falling, making shots, and make some.
Yeah, we're going to make mistakes in front of the camera, and that's okay, because I think we all need to own our faults a little more and just laugh about the fact that we're human and none of us have any idea what we're doing.
That's so true. And, also going back to what you said, Andrew, about how it's not a two-dimensional spectrum. A lot of times I talk about how there are so many little verticals on that spectrum that are their own spectrum.
And it's a sphere.
It is. Yeah, that's really better term, because that's why no one person with autism looks like the next, but there are commonalities. So you have ranges, whether it's executive functioning or language ability or sensory challenges or a theory of mind, all these different aspects of autism that in and of themselves have huge variation. Mm-hmm. So let's talk about what you guys are doing on TikTok. Is it just TikTok and YouTube, or do you have any other
no, that's pretty much it. I've mostly just been focusing on TikTok because I have a baby and we're writing a book, and I just only have time for the one right now. I'm hoping one day to hire someone to take our TikToks and put them everywhere, because I find when I try and focus on more than one, I'm just juggling too many and I just drop everything. So right now we're primarily focused on TikTok, but I am excited to work on our YouTube channel once the book is out.
Right. Well, and your TikTok's blowing up. So you're getting lots and lots of mileage there and lots of people following you. What would you say would have been some of your favorite videos that you've shared there, or just the topics, the things?
We've made a few about direct communication and like little mishaps we've had where I can change 2 words and then he knows what I mean. For instance, when I was pregnant, we were living in a van touring around BC, and we would ride our bikes quite a bit, and I was exhausted, obviously, because I was in my 2nd trimester. And I said to Andrew, "Is it much further?" And he just looked at me like I had 2 heads. Like, what? And I'm like, "Is it much further?" And he couldn't answer me.
Yeah, short circuit.
Because I'm asking a yes or no question without a metric. And he's like, "Well, I don't know what you think further is." So then it's like, "Oh, how much further is it?" And then he's like, 5 kilometers, and he can tell me.
Like, yeah, it's like someone's asking like a question that needs a metric in a yes or no format. And it's like, what's going on right now?
Yeah, you know, actually,
What
that's, I think that was one of the first videos I saw, and I did a duet with you guys on that. I don't know if you ever saw it, but I actually
I
duetted
didn't.
that
Oh,
video.
cool.
Yeah,
Oh,
I did.
Okay,
It was like
cool.
the reaction video to it, because I was like, this is so good. So I did, and then I shared it with all my people. And then, you know, it's interesting because I had a couple that I was working with at the time, actually, they're still working with me, that biked together and had similar issues. And I'm like,
oh.
metric, you know, I'm like, here you go, guys.
Yeah.
Oh, it's
So,
wild.
so how are you guys? What would you say, Michelle or Andrew? This is a question for either one of you.
Hmm.
How are you guys figuring this stuff out? What are you, you know, are you reading? Are you just,
Oh,
what are you doing to learn these strategies?
we're just paying attention to when we're not getting along. Like, we're just paying
Like,
attention.
what just happened?
Yeah, what just happened? Why are you looking at me like that?
Why does that feel? Why did we did what? Like, why was that a struggle?
Yeah.
No. I guess for context, I'll jump into like, so for the last 11 years, I've been air conditioning mechanic, but a lot of those years I was sent out to troubleshoot. I really enjoy troubleshooting. So I don't know. I just wonder, like, does that have something to do with it? So like, I have like a mindset of, how does that work? What's going on there? Why is it so? I don't know. Sometimes maybe that moment could turn into a elevated tension moment, but then my curiosity could like just overcome that tension and be like, oh, hold on, what just happened?
Yeah.
Rather than being like, what just happened?
Yeah.
You know, like that wasn't fun. I didn't like that.
Yeah, we're basically just living. And then when we have those moments and we learn something, we're just sharing it with TikTok. So I'm glad we've connected with you, because we don't have a professional side to it. Like, people always ask me what my background is. They're like, are you a social worker? I'm like, no, I worked with teens for a really long time, and I have my own strategies, but they're not professional, which can, I think, shed a different side of the light on it too, which is nice. Because whenever I say something where Andrew just looks at me like, what did you just do? We dissect it. Our first fight after the baby, Andrew came home one day and I said to him, like, I had a really hard day with the baby. Like, I had a really hard day. And he went and started fixing his computer for 2 hours. And then I went in there and lost my mind. And it took us a couple days to realize, like, I didn't say, I need your help with the baby.
Yeah.
I said, I had a hard day, implying I needed his help. But Andrew has a computer mind. He doesn't think that way. If I would have said, I need your help right now, he would have came and took the baby. But because most days when he gets home from work, I'm not dying for him to take the baby. Like, I don't usually have hard days with her. So it's not in his routine to look for that. So that was another aha moment.
So the implied meaning, the inferred meaning is very much a neurotypical way of communicating, which I see Andrew going, because it's
and you know, I've been in like relationships before Michelle, and that's why, you know, like, going back to when you asked me about like my history, so often I would be like, I understand why the word hermit is a thing. Like, I don't get what, like, how, even at work too, like when you get those neurotypical like questions or situations, I'm just sitting there like
I don't know, I got nothing.
I like, and then it could be a high tension situation, so you're like, oh God, sorry. Yeah.
So a member in my Facebook, I have a private Facebook group that's for both partners, neurodiverse and neurotypical, and we have the best conversation in there. I keep it, I absolutely don't allow any bashing in there. We're there to grow together. And one of my neurotypical wives, or I can't remember if she's a wife or a girlfriend, but she shared something last week, which I thought was really great. She's colorblind, and she's like, yes, women can be colorblind because apparently it's really rare, but she said, I'm colorblind. And she said, it doesn't matter how many times I look at those little bubbles at the eye doctor, I'm not going to see the color. And she compared that. She said, I understand that my husband literally cannot hear the layer of communication that's there sometimes no matter how much I want him to,
Yeah.
he just can't. His brain doesn't detect it, right? And it's so important, because this is where couples really end up having so much hurt and so much pain, because a neurotypical partner is going to think that their neurodiverse partner is hearing it but ignoring it, which means
thank you for that information. I have no idea where to store it, but it's going to go under miscellaneous for now. And
I don't know what to do with it, but I'll so what you guys were saying, you've just intuitively started to, one of the biggest tools that I teach people is to be detectives, to have that element of curiosity, to say what just happened, what just happened.
Don't take it personally. Do not take it personally.
Yes, and what just happened, let's clarify, what do you mean when you use this word? Because here's what I mean when I use that word. And sometimes it's just this big, oh, well, that's not what I meant. And so you guys clearly, the other thing that's really important for couples is you have just a basic respect for one another. You respect each other, you care about each other, and you trust that exists. And where a lot of couples struggle is over time. Well, either they both came into it with major insecurities and they already brought that into the relationship, which a lot of us do bring a level of that anyway. But that's brought into it. And then over time, the relationship has become a very unsafe place where each feels criticized or not cared for. So there's not that basic level of, I value you, I respect you, and I have a regard for you. So when we disagree, I want to be curious about what just happened versus you're putting the boxing gloves on. That's one of my sports analogies. You put those boxing gloves on and you're like, you're after me and I'm after you, and we're going to fight this out.
You're supposed to be
you guys being so cooperative.
I really like Michelle.
We're a team. It's us against the world. So if we start going against each other, we don't have a hope, man. This world is not easy. Life is not easy. We got a baby now, possibly more kids. If we can't be a tight unit, and we don't have to be perfect, but we can look at our fights and say, like, we don't apologize, really. I don't think we've ever apologized. I don't think it's actually necessary. Do you?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
But like,
I guess it's not important to me. What's important to me is we look at what happened, we both decide what we could do differently, and then we actually try and implement those changes. And we fumble. We decided a month ago that we needed a check-in point every Sunday. We need to check in and say where we're at. Like, are you red, yellow, green, or blue? Are you getting burnt out? Am I helping enough? Like, where are we at? And we forgot for a couple weeks and we just got off track. And then I ended up having a huge blowout at Andrew.
Well, we didn't really have a check-in thing. It was just kind of like, I'll let you know. But then if you forget for, a few weeks while like a massive storm rolls in, you're like, hey, so the roofs were getting like torn off. The storm's pretty bad. What should we do? It's too late now. And then you just
and what you do when you do forget to have the check-ins, you just give yourselves grace and you're like, you know what? Okay, we forgot. Let's get back on track. And that's where a lot of folks stumble too, where they feel like they've lost so much ground because they forgot to do the check-ins. But that's not the way. You just stop. You reboot. It's like rebooting your computer. You reboot and start over. The apologies, I wanted to go back to that because I've done videos on this several times and people get so mad at me because I don't agree. I don't support apologies either. So, a lot of folks want apologies when someone's hurt them by whatever, the partners will, both sides, and I see this on both sides, neurodiverse and neurotypical.
This is interesting.
So they'll want that clarification of what happened, but still want an apology. I know you didn't mean to hurt me, but I still want you to apologize because you did. And my take on that is, no, that's not, the intent to harm was never there. So there's nothing to apologize
No.
for.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
I'm gonna jump in with something. So a friend of mine told me a quote. I think that quote is applicable in this scenario. Like, for me to have a feeling of like, I need you to apologize to me, that feels off. And I don't want to judge anybody. I don't want, like, if anybody's watching this, but like, expectations are premeditated resentments on a hairpin trigger. So if you expect an apology or are looking forward to an apology and you don't get it, you're going to be 10 times worse off. And you set that trap for yourself.
I love that. So is that expectations are premeditated resentments
on a hairline
trigger.
Yeah.
So is that a quote from some?
Oh, I forget where he heard it. It might have been, no, you know what? He probably heard it. This isn't going to shine a good light on him. He is such a fantastic person, but he did go to AA. And then I think he heard it there. I'm pretty sure, but he learned so much, and he's a phenomenal person.
It's a very applicable thing, and that powerful. I have a communication program. It's called Crack the Communication Code, and I talk about 4 stages of communication. And the first stage is what we bring to every interaction. And this is something that's not usually covered in counseling, which, by the way, you guys, I don't know how much you know about me, but I have a background like 20 years as a licensed therapist. Before I transitioned over to doing coaching, which is just a different model. But anyway, so the first stage of communication is not usually covered in therapy. But usually what therapists focus on is the interactive state. How do we talk to each other? What do we say? How did that make me feel? What I think is so important is going back to that first stage, and that's what we bring to it. Expectations is one of the things we bring to it, and our values, our personalities, our brain, what brain we have, our memories, even all of it. And so it all cycles back. We bring all of those things to every interaction. Stage 2, we actually have our interactions, and we've talked some today about how you guys actually interact. But then stage 3 is the meaning that we take away from those interactions. And so if you're taking away one meaning, Michelle, and Andrew's taking away another meaning for what you just talked about, then you're missing each other. You're misunderstanding each other without knowing it. And then stage 4 is how we remember our interactions. It's that database of conversations, and that contributes to then what we bring to the next interaction. So, whatever content we remember or how we felt about the interaction, all of that's important. And that goes right down to the expectation piece that you were talking about. We totally set ourselves up sometimes for that resentment.
Yeah.
Just like you said.
Like, he should just know. He should just know I need his help, right? He should just know I had a hard day. He should just know what to do. And a lot of people on that video kind of said negative things about Andrew, like, why didn't he come home and take? And it's like, hey, listen, if I have to spell it out for him, and that means that I get what I want, is that such a terrible thing? Like,
yes, I hear that too, Michelle. I hear that from women, especially. Women who are neurotypical partners don't want, they feel like if they have to spell it out, it doesn't count. And I'm like, no, I totally disagree too. If you get what you need from your partner, it totally counts.
You can actually tell me, and like, I will, gotcha. Or like,
the follow through is what counts. It's that he actually responds to your request. That's what counts. And, I just want to say something about the haters or the negative, because, you guys are, I know, kind of new to this whole social media thing. And you're going to have the naysayers and the negative Nellies and the haters, the people who are going to criticize both of you. But the thing is those are the people who are not receptive to help anyway. And so
absolutely.
I know, I don't know how you guys feel about it, but they're not going to be ready for help. But there are a lot of people learning from those comments.
Absolutely.
A lot of people, a lot of people who are receptive and want to learn are actually learning something from the folks who get negative on you.
Yeah, absolutely.
No, fantastic.
I hate to cut this short, but I gotta feed her.
No, it's good. We didn't actually clarify how long we were going to talk. So
That's okay. I love talking to you. I could totally keep talking, but she is definitely, I've seen a couple yawns and a couple eye rubs. So
Do you have some?
we're on a limited clock here.
If you have a few more questions, I can.
Andrew can talk to you.
Okay, yeah, that'd be great. I want to actually,
Bye, buddy.
yeah, thanks for being on here, Michelle.
Yeah.
Andrew, tell me, if you will, a little bit about the book that you guys are writing.
Oh God, Michelle.
Wrong person to ask.
Let me do the diaper.
Yeah, maybe. Like I'll chime in a moment, but
Okay.
yeah, that's a good question.
You can do the diaper and I can put her to bed.
What were you just saying about teamwork?
Yeah. Andrew rocks at diapers. He does a diaper.
Yeah.
Nice.
So we are co-authoring a book, and it is our entire experience so far on this journey. So you're going to have my perspective and Andrew's perspective. So the book starts out with our lives before each other. So you have my childhood, my teens, his teens, how we met, our year of friendship. Andrew was not my type at all, and I didn't think that he was I didn't think that he was ready for a relationship because he was only 10 months out of a breakup, and he was in a long-term relationship. So when I met him, I said, if you're looking for friends, like, I think you should date quite a bit because you should be putting yourself out there, and he's active, and I was competing in martial arts at the time. So I needed like an active buddy to go hiking and stuff with. So for a year we were friends, and it slowly grew to romance.
Mm-hmm.
So we have that whole process. And then how I figured out he was on the spectrum, reading this book, the entire diagnosis process. So that's the chapter I just finished. I wrote down every single thing I could remember about the diagnosis process. And obviously I'm not a professional, I'm not a doctor, but I can tell you everything I heard and everything I learned.
Mm-hmm.
And we Andrew's actual diagnosis in the book.
Okay.
So that's where we're at so far. So I write the chapter, and then Andrew reads the chapter, and then he writes his thoughts afterwards. So, and it's quite funny sometimes because he has a completely different point of view from me.
Well, and I cannot wait for this because we haven't had a good book release really in probably 5 to 10 years that's really transformational. And some of the ones that are out there are either from one perspective or the other, the neurotypical partner or the neurodiverse partner. And I think this is going to be so awesome to get both of your perspectives for people to read and to relate to and feel hope. I think you guys give so much hope. People ask me, is this even possible? And I'm like, yes, it is so possible to do this. When you've got motivation, willingness, and ability, it's totally possible. And so
absolutely. So I also put 25 short stories. I think there's going to end up being more. I have 25 short stories of just all the little moments of the first 6 months we were dating where I was like, what just happened? Like, where I didn't understand. And we put as much humor in there as possible. You know, Andrew, our first anniversary gift, he just threw a mug at me. And
I saw that one.
And he didn't say anything. And I was like, what did he just do? And then now we're just about to start the aftermath of the diagnosis, because that year after the diagnosis was really hard on both of us. Andrew was very overwhelmed. He was constantly his wheels were turning, and he wasn't really present for me because he was trying to identify with this new lens he was looking through. So we're just at that point. And then the third part of the book is going to be all of our advice, a chapter from you, a professional, and we want to just put in every single thing that we've learned since the diagnosis. So we're still on the first copy. I am working with an editor who's going through things as we go, and she's like, I can't put this down. Like, this is hilarious.
I already know it's going to be, I haven't, read any of the chapters yet, but I already know it's going to be great just because of your personalities and the way you share this information. It's just going to be, honestly, I see this as being just a huge life altering book for so many people. I'm really excited about it.
Yeah. I'm really excited for it. Faith is 6 months and she's been a handful lately. So I was hoping to have it out by December, but now I'm thinking, oh, Michelle, it's going to be like February or March, which is okay.
Story of my life.
Yeah. Like
I understand that.
Much work, and now the baby's a lot more work, but excited for it. We have to plug my phone in.
Well, we can wrap it up, and I absolutely want to get you guys on a live with my on my YouTube channel, but we'll figure all that out later. And thank you both. Andrew, did you have any other questions for me, or are you good?
No, that's great. I don't know. When you said like neurodiverse with neurotypical, like that's great. I hope when I was like palming my face, like, yeah, I don't mean to like I'm not no ill will towards like that aspect of neurotypicals where they're like, he should know that I'm implying this.
Oh no. I think that
we're all learning.
Your reactions and responses are absolutely perfect because it's so genuine and it's so real, and you are so authentic. You know, so one of the things that I help people with is to understand. A lot of people come to me thinking their partner is narcissistic, which is a very toxic human being, and so it's not, autism is not narcissism. Now you can actually have both, but that's a totally separate issue. But you just exude authenticity, and it's so refreshing for others to see you as an example, a living, breathing example of what autism looks like in someone that's not that toxic thing, you know.
Right. I will say though, if I was in a relationship with Andrew and I wasn't self-aware to speak my needs, he could seem narcissistic.
Yeah.
That is exactly that's right. And so many people get confused.
He goes through his day looking through his own little magnifying glass, and he goes through his day and he has no idea how it affects me. He's never meaning to do anything to affect me negatively.
I assume I'm not.
But if you're going to date someone on the spectrum or atypical, you need to realize that your communication and self-awareness has to be there, and you have to bring that to the table. They have to respond and listen. Of course, Andrew always hears me and makes adjustments. But when we were first dating, I nearly broke up with him a couple times because I thought, how could this guy be doing this? But he didn't notice.
That's the theory of mind. It's called theory of mind or cognitive empathy. Those are the two clinical terms for it. And you're so right that both of you have to learn how to be self-aware. And as far as the narcissism goes, I actually have a course for people with a quiz on, is this narcissism or is this autism or is it both? Because of exactly what you just said. It's
great.
It's so confusing for both partners a lot of times. But okay, awesome. I know you need to be a baby. And it was great to meet you guys in person, and we will be following up soon about the book and another YouTube live. And you guys have a great weekend, and so nice to meet you guys.
Yeah, really like talking to you. You're fantastic ideas, and I like how you just frame things, and you seem to have a lot of knowledge. Love it. It's great.
Thank you, Andrew, and I think you guys rock too.
I really noticed and appreciate that you're doing really good. Like, you're fantastic.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Well, I think the same, and I think we're going to be an awesome team. So